Aloha and welcome to Faith in Politics, where we aim to discuss politics through the lens of faith, both here in Hawaii and around the world. I'm Brendan Scarborough, your host. Can you guys believe that December is already here? Where did the year go? Now, please join us as we take a look back at some of the compelling stories we've told over the past year. In today's episode, Laura Burbidge of One Impact, a grassroots movement, educates churches and believers so that their vote is not just an educated guess. Instead, they aim to give voters a clear understanding on the character of the candidate, as well as their stance on issues that are important to conservative Christians. Also coming up, we have a story from back in July where Pastor Bill Stonebreaker and Pastor Ed Arkalis and Shannon Lynn discuss the over-sexualization of children. We start this episode with an interview back in February with Amir Tsarfati and how politics connects with biblical prophecy. Let's join Malala Poe and Amir.
Amir Tsarfati, welcome.
Thank you. Shalom.
I've been watching some of your programs, and you talk about how we have 3 more years of this group in office, and you're seeing some of the things. How are you seeing the current climate affect or connect with prophecy?
Look, for prophecies such as the war of Gog from the land of Magog of Ezekiel 38 to take place, the reality is that no one is going to come to help Israel. And right now, America is the biggest ally of Israel. What could possibly happen for America not to physically help Israel when Israel is being attacked, by the big powers of this world? It can only happen if America is no longer the big ally and the superpower of this world. I mean, and let's face it, I didn't have to tell you that to see where the country is going. And after 1 year, look where you're at.
Right.
1 year, and you have 3 more to go.
Right.
It's a systematic demolition of everything that this country, was founded on. I'm not sure if they do that on purpose or not, but I know one thing: it's a destruction that is causing this ship to sink. Not sink in a way that this country will not exist anymore. It sink in a way that this country will not lead anymore. That's, you will be a country, but you won't be the superpower of the world. Look, China, it's only a matter of 3-4 years before China is passing you with GDP, with the strength of military, and they're on their way. I mean, and that's their target, by the way. They're not hiding it. I mean, all the countries are looking at you right now and see weakness, and they take advantage of that. This is why North Korea started acting up again, Iran's shenanigans, Russia and China, all they smell weakness. And unfortunately, it's only after 1 year. I don't even want to think what 3 years from now America is going to look like. But the hope is that we have heavenly citizenship. And we're not holding on to the greatness of politicians and to the greatness of military and to the greatness of, parliaments. We're holding on to the promises of Christ.
Is politics a distraction to prophecy?
It's not a distraction, because Bible prophecy is being fulfilled whether you want or not. And I don't think man has the power to accelerate or slow it down. I think it's just like the Bible says, at the appointed time or the fullness of the times, Mary gave birth.
Right.
The fullness of the time.
Right.
It wasn't like, a day before or a day later. So God has appointed times. Okay? Politics plays part in it, but they don't understand that God ordains all things. In other words, when Russia will come and attack Israel, I don't think, whether Putin or someone else, I don't think they know that they're fulfilling Bible prophecy. They don't think that way. But we, because we know Bible prophecy, we know why they're doing that. And we know how it's going to end. And we know who is going to get the glory out of all of this. So, see, this is why Psalm 2 is so amazing, because all the leaders of the world think that they're calling the shots and they're movers and shakers in this world. God has the last word.
Right.
And we received the full script of this play. We know the end of the story. And so I'm smiling when I'm looking at all of the events around us, because I'm not afraid. Because if it happens exactly according to the script, and it does, I know exactly where I'm going.
Where we're going to be.
There you go.
Right. Why should we care here in Hawaii about prophecy, Israel, and what's going on in the Middle East? Why does that matter to us?
Because we believe in the same God who gave us the same word and the same promises. And Bible prophecy is not about relations between countries and themselves. It's about between countries or nations and Israel. It's always in relations to Israel. 95% of Bible prophecy is related to Israel, to the people and the land. So even in Hawaii, you need to know what's going on in Israel, and you need to understand Bible prophecy, because eventually all the world is being affected by that part of the world. All the world is being affected by what is happening over there. Maybe Hawaii will be more affected by the supernatural consequences or supernatural effects of end times rather than maybe political, whatever. But look, COVID showed you that even Hawaii has to dance to the music of the World Health Organization. For example, you're an island or a group of islands, you're as far as it can get, yet you're still part of a world that has an agenda, that has a global agenda, and eventually you will be affected as well. And whatever is true to Europe and to America and to Asia is true to Hawaii. So you can't just say, oh, I live on those islands, so I'm not going to be affected by it. No, I just came from California. They wear masks in some places. You wear a mask also here. But there's a huge body of water between you. But you see, you're part of this world. And therefore, you also need to be aware of what's going on. And you are also going to be affected by what's going on. In the meantime, we don't need to sit and count the sheep. We need to occupy. And I think that what Kalo TV is doing is phenomenal. It's amazing. It's good. It's blessed, and it's necessary. So keep on doing the good work.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation with Amir and Malala. You're watching Faith and Politics. We'll be right back.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. This year, most of us have faced financial hardship, not to mention a culture drifting further from biblical truth we hold dear. Yet many of you still partnered with us. Thank you for your sacrifice. Despite this tough year, God is always working. We continue to engage in the political arena, invest in future generations. Local ministries across Hawaii are broadcasting on our station, and programmers from around the world continue to reach Hawaii. What does the future hold? 2023 looks amazing, but it starts here. Can I ask you to pray for us regularly? And for those who can sacrifice financially, we humbly thank you in advance. This is an effort on many levels, and what we do is more important than ever, engaging our culture and building up the body of Christ so that in 2023, more homes, more people across all generations will experience the good news of Jesus Christ. Mahalo for partnering with us.
Welcome back to Faith and Politics. Back in July, we shared a story from Bill Stonebreaker, Ed Arcalis, and Shannon Lynn on how schools might be giving an over-sexualized view to your children. Here's their discussion.
Ed, you've been an educator at our school for many years now. I know a lot of issues deal with sex and kids and talking about sex in the classroom and all. Is there an age-appropriate time to maybe bring that up, or should the teachers be bringing that up to kids, especially in the culture nowadays, such a woke culture and transgender culture? What is your, as an educator, view on that?
Yeah, in the context of our school at Calvary Chapel, we bring that subject up in 10th grade. With the permission of the parents, we address that. Personally, I think that sex education should be addressed at home as a child is growing in the context of the Bible. Again, we partner with born-again Christian parents for the education of our child, so we believe that they're the primary responsible parties when it comes to things like this. This topic here is unavoidable because the culture is so entrenched in this topic, and we do bring it up. I believe the teachers and we bring it up in the context of the Bible, and we try to make it straight with what the Word says.
It seems like TikTok, kids on TikTok, they're pushing the whole transgender agenda.
Again, the focus is definitely not the things of the Lord. The focus is on the flesh. There's an attraction because there's something within the natural man that desires that. And the kids are in the same suit. You know, they're searching, they're still discovering things, they're learning on their own. And unfortunately, these social media venues, they they're leading the kids into a realm that's away from God, away from the Word. And so I see that within our children, where there's some people that are confused in regards to who they are or what God's called them to be. And that's why it's important for us as educators to partner with the parents in a sense, so that way the kids are getting one message across the board from the home front and from the school front in regards to how their kids should live their lives to make their calling and election sure in the Lord. So Shannon, as a mom of 3, how do you feel about all this emphasis in sex education and teaching your children at all about the subject?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have seen it change over time. There's an age gap between our children, so I've seen a little bit of change in this. Obviously, if you're in a Christian school and you focus on creation, and this is what God has given us to for His creation, that's a very different viewpoint than that is being pushed in other areas. Our children are being taught, like you said, biology. You teach it in your biology. That's very different than some of the subjects that are being brought up today with their sex education. They're just taking it so much further. They try to explain how things are done instead of just keeping it more like on a scientific viewpoint. Also, one of the things that we need to consider is how developmentally ready are they, how appropriate what's being taught at the time. I think that sometimes when they talk about teaching this to a second grader, how are you going to teach sex education to a second grader? Being a mother of daughters, it is scary. These children's bodies change, these girls' bodies change. If the parents aren't talking about it at home, then I think that they do get very confused about some of the feelings that they're having, not feeling comfortable with their bodies. I agree with you. You said that the parents and the school need to work together. I think that maybe is where there's a little bit of a gap that we've lost, right? That there's not as much communication between the parents and the school, and making sure that we are giving the information to the children at the appropriate time and being on having the same message. In the early 2000s, there's been a lot of legalizing the same-sex marriage, and even though they have the same rights and benefits of being married, there was a big push for gay marriage. Why do you think that this may be true?
They want to normalize things that are really not normal. They're pretty much abnormal. Actually, Duke Iona was running against Neil Abercrombie. And one of the things I said to the church, I said, you know what? If Abercrombie gets in, the very first thing he's going to do is legalize same-sex marriage. And that's exactly what he did. And yet, at the same time, they did a poll, 76% of the people in Hawaii didn't want same-sex marriage. So I think what you're seeing is these politicians, they have an agenda, and they push it upon the people. And the sad thing is, people could have the kind of leadership that they elect, but they just don't elect them. They leave it to the activists, and they leave it to the Democrat Party. They really push some of this agenda that is not family friendly at all. So right. I think it's primarily normalizing what is not normal. When you get away from God, when you leave God, leave the Bible, you're going to leave a moral base. If you don't have a moral compass, then anything goes. And right. Basically that's what's happening. They're trying to normalize everything that is not normal. Mm-hmm. They call it abnormal. I think it was Anita Bryant, if you remember her way back when, mm-hmm. she was the spokesman for Minute Maid orange juice. When they asked her about homosexuality or same-sex marriage, she said, I think it's abnormal. They eliminated her from being a spokesman. Right. You see, they want to push this on society. If you don't agree with it, well, then they will take you out. Right.
Yeah, bringing up normalizing things. There's some interesting stats on transgenderism. It said 10 years ago, gender dysphoria affected only 1 out of 10,000 men. Today, in some schools, it says 30% of females claim to be trans. What are your folks' thoughts on that?
So identity is a big thing. I know schools often teach about identity, who you are. So as Christians, it should be an easy answer for us, right? Our identity is in Christ. And if you're deeply rooted in that, it's easy for you to stay focused on, this is my purpose, this is why I'm here. But if you don't have that, then a lot of these children, I think, are having a difficult time because you mentioned TikTok, there's Instagram, Facebook, there's all of these social media forums that are out there that I think that these kids are trying to identify. But the problem is that's not steadfast. I found it interesting. One of the verses when I was writing some notes down was that Christ is the same yesterday as he is today, as he will be forever. But these trends, these things that are happening, they change so quickly. And so our children are having a hard time finding their identity because what may be true today is different tomorrow for them. And so they just struggle so much with their identity and figuring out who they are. In some cases of trying to figure out who your identity is, I think that's always been something that middle school age children go through because you are trying to figure out who you are. There's just a whole lot more social pressure and availability to try these different things right now.
It's one of the most vulnerable times in a young person's life as they're growing up. And they have so many negative kind of feelings of being unhappy or depressed or discouraged or withdrawn, and they want to belong. And that's one of the big things, belonging to a group or feeling as though they have a worth. They're looking for kind of a purpose or looking for who they are, plus at the same time the hormonal change that is going through them. And so they're very confused in a lot of areas. And a thing about that is with the brain, they haven't developed a certain cognitive ability to make right choices. So what happens is you have these activists come along and they pull them in to a transgender lifestyle because kids, they go through emotions. They feel certain ways.
That's what I was just going to say. Their logical part of their brain is not fully developed until well into their 20s, but their emotional part of their brain is very developed. And so it's easy to get them to go off of their emotions.
Yeah, it's hyper at that point.
Right.
And so they can very easily be led, and that's what's happening with that. When you look at the suicide rate, the thoughts that they have, there is a constant feeling and thought about suicide. In a National Library of Medicine, I looked that up, they said 82% of transgenders think about suicide. And they say 40% attempt suicide. So it's such a horrible kind of thing for these activists and even these adults to draw kids into. The Bible says if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, it's better that you have a millstone hung around your neck and dropped into the deepest part of the sea. It makes me angry when I hear what they're doing, but also I realize, you know what, whether it be ignorance or you have an agenda, you need to see what the Bible says, what God says about this, because it's not going to end up well for you.
Shannon, have the schools put pressure on you in regards to your daughters toward an alternative lifestyle?
I do think society definitely puts a lot of pressure on us. We made a decision that our daughters, when they got a little bit older, that they actually went to a Christian school. The Christian schools that we chose for them are biblically sound. They go off of truth 100%, don't deviate from that. But we had to make that active decision. We had to choose that for our children because of what we saw going on in society. And when my older girls were entering high school, the high school that they could have gone to, not only accepted, but almost encouraged to participate this alternate lifestyle. And if you didn't participate in it, then you were almost kind of shunned or not part of the group. So we had to make a decision before they started. Do we want them to be a part of this, or do we want to choose something else for them? And so that's when we put them into a Christian high school. I can see where society, though, is pushing it, where a lot of times people think you are a hater or not loving if you don't accept it or you don't agree with it. They can't just take it as saying, well, this goes against everything that I believe and what I've been taught. That part of it's been difficult in some ways. Bill, the Church of England has just announced that they refuse to define what a woman is. Is there pressure on the churches to accept this new movement, this trans movement?
I think there is some churches. If they're biblically based and they believe in the inerrancy of the Word of God, if they believe in that, which we do at Calvary Chapel, if you stray from that, then you're going to compromise in different areas. And even Bibles are coming out gender neutral. Yeah, it's creeping into the church. And if a person doesn't believe in the Word of God, then you are going to stray from that. We have a church that we pass by on our way to Calvary Chapel, and they have all the rainbow flags, and they have all the things that they endorse, and I had to take a picture of it because, we accept all, everything that is woke, everything that is liberal. So there are churches that are going that way, but
wasn't the Methodist Church as a whole having to make a decision? Weren't they voting on on marriages?
Oh, yes. And Korean churches
right.
as well. We have people that are Koreans are in our church because that was the very issue. It really divided the church. To me, I see it's a real sifting in the body of Christ. We look at a lot of this stuff and we want to maybe politically try to change it, but you have to realize God's in charge.
Right.
He's in charge, and he sits in the heaven and he laughs at those that are trying to pull down, what he's doing. And so to me, I just go, wow, Lord, what are you going to do? You must have an incredible plan. There are those that are kind of nominal that are not coming back to the church. And those that have always been solid, they're getting stronger in the things of the Lord. And who knows if revival will come. That's what we're praying for. And in the world, I think God is dividing the sheep from the goats. Now, I know he's going to do that when he comes back, but I think you're seeing that right now. You look at those who are goats and they get really radical in their agenda. They're getting more goaty. And I think those that are not quite that way, they're waking up to the fact there's got to be something that's the truth in life.
That just makes me think of our purpose, going back to these kids that are having a hard time, right? If they lose their purpose, like, why are we here? What is life about? And that's the one thing that I do think about all the time with our kids. And when they don't have that rooted, what your purpose is, I find that they get lost very easily.
And I think, Shannon, when people say that, when we don't agree with a lot of this stuff, it's hate.
Right.
They push that. If you say something, who was the communist leader that said, if you say something long enough, it'll be true, although it's totally false.
Right.
I mean, if you remember when Barack Obama was elected, first black president, if you disagreed with him, you were racist. So it's like anything that you disagree with, or no, this is not our lifestyle, my lifestyle, this is not what I agree with or what I believe in, all of a sudden they label you, they slander you. Right. And so I think to disagree with, with a premise that somebody has, you shut down any kind of healthy discussion. We should talk about it. We should talk about the suicide rate of those that are transgender and those that believe in their own identity as a male or a female, because it's just astronomical. And if you can't talk about that, then, you've really shut down any kind of debate.
Yeah. I said communication. That was one of my number one things, that I feel like we've lost communication. You mentioned it again about parents and schools. I just think communication, talking to our kids. Yeah. We've lost that. We're allowing social media to fill questions that these children have.
Thank you to Bill, Ed, and Shannon. Next up, Laura Burbidge of One Impact and how regular citizens can be more involved in the political process here in Hawaii. Let's take a look.
When it comes to voting for the most important office in the United States, the president, Hawaii has been dead last in voter turnout since 1992. That's 30 years of being in last place. And it's no different for state elections either. Data for the August primary shows only 25% of registered voters turned out for the largest race in the state, the governor's race. 25%. That's horrible. If you listen to people, though, they are fed up in one way or another with what's happening. Pick a subject: rail, housing, economy, etc. But in their anger, they respond with apathy by not voting. Well, how can we tell? Well, the cycle repeats itself every election, and that is why we have the same politicians in office for 30 to 40 consecutive years. Thus, the framework for discussion becomes this. 1. Hawaii is the grand prize winner for poor voter turnout. 2. Change doesn't occur because many people don't vote. 3. Nothing has changed for many decades. Sounds dismal, right? Well, here's the good news. We are breaking the cycle. One Impact Hawaii is responding to the call to educate churches, believers, and those who are like-minded about issues affecting our lives, our families, our culture, our convictions. And we are here to do something about it. Our survey shows that people do not vote because 1. I didn't know enough. 2. Why bother? 3. It takes too much effort. 4. I forgot. So people don't vote because they lack confidence and it seems too hard. Well, we believe it is because people are uninformed. That's why we hold educational and informative events that empower people with knowledge and wisdom to confidently cast their vote, such as information on candidates and their voting records. We've had economics and civics classes, school curriculum and parental rights. And for military families living here, consider voting in Hawaii, where your family will be most impacted right now. So One Impact is a faith-based group filtering information through the lens of the Bible because we want conservative voices standing up and fighting for our God-given and constitutionally protected freedoms. Our hope is to instill confidence in you to vote by taking the time to educate and mentor you. This is our moment to break the cycle for ourselves and our children. Join us at our next event, a voting party. Bring your ballots, be informed, get ideas, and together let's collaborate.
Thank you, Laura Burbidge of One Impact. Be sure to visit their website and get involved. That's all the time we have for this episode. This program exists because of viewers like you. We're the only local political program here in Hawaii with a Christ-centered point of view. And from all of us here at Faith in Politics, we thank you for your support financially and prayerfully. For those watching on social platforms such as Rumble and YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And invite your friends to come and watch our program. I'm Brendan Scarborough, and of course, Merry Christmas from all of us here at Faith in Politics.